Welcome to Real Talk with Ray. I'm your host, Raymond Oliveras. This is the show where I introduce you to awesome business owners and just people doing amazing things in the world. And I give you their stories unscripted so you can learn about them and I can help them spread their message and get them in front of more people, to be honest. Today we get to talk to the awesome Mike Adray. He has been an amazing resource for me over the years, and I'm so excited to share him with you all. He has been a serial entrepreneur over the past years of his life, starting from owning a construction handyman business and eventually owning a B&I franchise, which is a networking organization. Through our conversation, I got to uncover more things about what it takes to be a professional networker and what things to completely avoid, as well as just so many more things about life and finding your passion, things I just didn't expect. So stay tuned. It's an amazing and impactful episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. You have had a lot of experience working with a lot of different businesses. Who is networking exactly for, and who is it not for?
So it's networking is for people who want to grow their business, right? Or grow their influence. Most people that are in business have a product or service to sell. Not everybody. For example, nonprofits don't have a product or service to sell, but they do have a service they provide, even though they're not selling it. And so anybody who, maybe to rephrase it, networking is for anybody who wants to connect with their ideal target market, because every business has a target market. Whether you're selling something or not, you have a target market. Nonprofits, they have a market that they serve, and so that's their target market. So networking is the most effective and efficient way to connect with your ideal target market.
I love that. And you've had quite a history with networking yourself, being owner of the founding region of Business Networking International, which, as you can see on your shirt, BNI is what it stands for. Can you tell me your story, maybe an abridged version? Because I know you started out from construction, you've had your own business, you've done multiple different things, and then now out of that in BNI, can you give me what happened? What was the story?
Sure. So let me just step back and correct, though. It's Business Network International, not networking. So Business Network International.
Fascinating. I
Yeah,
was a
got to
part
get
of
the trademarks right.
that's, I was a part of BNI for 3 or 4 years myself. And I always, maybe it's one of those psychological things and networking, it just feels like it, you always say that. And then it's Business Network International, which makes sense actually thinking about is at it as an entity being it is a network in itself.
Networking is a verb, right? So this is a noun, Business Network International. So
English wasn't
um,
my strongest subject. I apologize.
me neither. So believe me, somebody had to teach me that. So prior to joining BNI, I owned a handyman company in Orange County. I was doing well. I had 6 guys working for me full time. I was spending a ton of money advertising. I was spending about 4 or 5 grand a month, but that got me 45 appointments a week where I would go out, somebody call up, say, hey, we need to have whatever done. I'd go out, meet with them, look at the work, go back to my office, that night, sit down, write up an estimate, send it to them. We get the job, we don't get the job, and wash, rinse, and repeat. And I was getting about a 25% close ratio back then, which is really good in construction, but I had a really good reputation. I mean, this was back in 2010, and I'd already been in business for about 7 years. So I had a good reputation. I had a good client base. I was spending good money advertising, good amount of money, not spent well, but good amount of money. And I was busy, like I was crazy busy. If you do the math, I was seeing 45 people a week, right? Do the math. I
Mhm.
was seeing a lot of people every day. And so I was a typical entrepreneur contractor. I'd get up early, get my guys started on their jobs, answer their questions, take care of any problems, get supplies ordered, whatever, go out, start meeting with clients by appointment throughout the day, get home, slam down some dinner, go in the office, and then work until 11, 12 o'clock at night to type up the estimates from that day's worth of work. Research, you had to make up a materials list, figure out the cost of materials, figure out the labor, type it all up, send it to the client. 25% close ratio. My average transaction was about $1,000. So we're doing handyman work. The honey-do list, that was our thing. Like, let us come in and give us all the stuff that no other contractors want to touch. I was a licensed general contractor, but I didn't want to build houses. I just did all the stuff that nobody else wanted to do, like, your toilet runs. You're going to call a plumber? They're going to say, hey, I get $300 to come ring your doorbell. Well, I could buy a new toilet for $300, right? So that you're not going to call a plumber to fix a running toilet. So who do you call? Well, you call a handyman. Well, most handyman aren't licensed and insured and bonded. We were. So it was safe to call us. We'd come out and we'd bill a minimum of an hour worth of work. That was our minimum. So really low threshold to get in. In 2010, I got invited to a BNI meeting by a complete stranger. This person approached me in a restaurant, local cafe, kind of think Cheers, but it wasn't a bar. It was a breakfast cafe. So we were sitting at the bar with all the usuals, right? There was a whole group of us that met there every day for breakfast, at like 7 o'clock in the morning. And we'd have breakfast together, talk about our days, and then go off and do our thing. So I was kind of networking, but in a real small room, right? Just maybe 6 or 7 of us. The lady walks in and says, hey, who's driving that construction truck outside? I go, that's me. And she goes, great. And so I hand her a card because I figure she needs something done, right? And she starts asking me, she goes, hey, I just have a couple of questions for you. I'm like, sure. She goes, are you looking to grow your business? Well, yeah. Who isn't? I mean, I'm in construction. If I'm not growing every day, I'm dying. And she goes, okay, great. Are referrals important in your business? And I'm going, yeah. Now I'm getting a little leery, kind of like, where is this going? And then she says, well, I'm meeting with a group of people that are looking for a handyman to pass referrals to. Would you like to meet them? And now I'm really looking around thinking, okay, am I on candid camera? Am I being punked? The guys at the counter are looking at me like, this is weird. And I'm like, yeah, why not? And she goes, okay, great. We're meeting at this same restaurant today at lunch. And I'd like to invite you to just come in and meet this group. I'm thinking, well, okay, I got to eat lunch. Might as well do something productive and find out what this is all about because this is really weird. And then I walked into the room and it was BNI, but it wasn't an existing chapter. They were forming a brand new chapter, and this was the very first meeting of that chapter forming. So there was like 30 people in the room. There was a director there from BNI who told us what it was they were forming, what they were building, and what BNI was, and kind of gave us an overview of how we could use it to build our business, and talked a lot about some of the benefits of being a BNI member. And then she said the line that hooked me. And the only way that you can lock out your competition, because BNI only allows one person per professional specialty in the chapter, the only way you can lock out your competition from this chapter and get the seat that you want is to submit your application today. Just so happened there was another general contractor in the room, and we literally both looked at each other, kind of gave it the, okay, game on kind of nod, and we both started filling out applications. Fast forward through that, I got inducted. Actually, we both got inducted because we did different things, even though we were both general contractors, and the director was smart enough to know these guys aren't going to compete.
He wasn't doing the toilets, right? You said you don't do everything that the other people don't want. So he obviously probably falls under the everyone else.
Yeah, and way outside of that, because he was a landscape contractor, even though he had a general license. He did swimming pools, outdoor kitchens, outdoor living spaces. His stuff was published in Sunset magazine, so he was super high end. And I didn't get anywhere near that. He was working outside, I was working inside. The director saw the vision, so we both got in. Became successful my first year, got about $20,000 worth of business. Thought this is great ROI. It wasn't until about the end of my second year till I really got it. And when I say got it, that's when I realized my second year I doubled it. I did about $40,000 in revenue. And then I understood that, wait a minute, this is my marketing team. The people in this room are my marketing team. And I need to refine my messaging and teach them not what I do. They don't care what I do. What I do is boring to them. Like, I don't want to know how a CPA does their work. Like, that is a snooze fest, right? Talk to me about tax filings. No, thank you. But tell me who you want to meet, what profession, specifically a name of somebody you want to meet, and then how to start a conversation with them and connect them with you. That I can do. I'm teachable, I'm trainable. Most people are. So I started doing that. I started changing my messaging to the point that I was telling them, look, this is the type of client I'm looking for. This is what we want to do, the honey-do list, right? Things that need to get done around the house that nobody wants to do. And this is how to start a conversation with them. If you hear somebody complaining about something in their house that needs to be broken, the spouse won't ever get the stuff fixed. They're nagging on them. When you hear that, then just simply say, wow, that's that could be a challenge. If I knew somebody that could help you with that, would you want to meet them? And once I trained people how to do that, my business changed. Remember, I was spending about $4,000 or $5,000 a month. I was doing 45 appointments a week, 5 days a week. Oh, I forgot to mention my weekends was when I did my bookkeeping, my payroll, and all the other stuff. So I was really working 7 days a week. I was the classic entrepreneur who owned a job and not a business because I was doing everything. So once I realized how to do this, I stopped all my advertising, saved $50,000 in advertising expense that first year that I started doing this. This was my third year in BNI, starting my third year. $50,000 net back into my pocket. I got a raise that year. I stopped doing appointments 5 days a week. I said, I'm only going to do appointments 3 days a week because BNI taught me how to do this. I did 8 appointments 3 days a week. That was my maximum I would do. So I cut down the amount of people I was seeing considerably. My close ratio went up to about 75, 80% because these weren't people calling me off of an ad. These were people calling me because somebody they knew liked them and likely trusted them, said, hey, call Mike. He can help you solve this problem. And I know him, I like him, I trust him. So fast forward through that third year, I saved all the advertising money. I was doing about 15 estimates a week. I did about 5 a day, and I was closing 12 or 13 of them. When I was doing 45 estimates a week, I was closing about 10 to 12 of them. So still closing the same number of jobs, but working way less. Instead of doing 45 appointments a week, I was doing 15.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of headache off your off your plates. You said BNI taught you to work. It was like work less. So you said taught you something. How did they teach you kind of more the business aspect? Because you're saying it's a network referral. Everyone gets to know you. But how are they teaching you something each week, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, so BNI really there's a lot of education that we offer. First of all, in every weekly meeting, we do an education moment, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes on how to be a more effective networker. So these are just like sound bites, right? Little small actionable things you can do on a weekly basis that will make differences over time. And you get 52 doses of that a week. So that's one part of the learning aspect. The other parts of the learning aspect are, number one, the BNI podcasts. So our founder, Dr. Ivan Meisner, who started out as a business consultant 40 years ago this month, we just celebrated our 40th anniversary, started
Congratulations.
BNI. And he does podcasts. He's got I think he's over 900, and podcasts are like 10 to 12 minutes. And in each one of those, he talks about, in the beginning, it was him talking about some subject matter. As it progressed over the years, he started bringing in subject matter experts on different subject matters. And, it could be a CPA, it could be a contractor, it could be a business coach, or all these different professions. And they all talked about how to use BNI effectively in your business. And so listening to those, I'm learning. In that region, and that was in Orange County, and now in our region, the BNI founding region, which is all of San Gabriel Valley and all of San Bernardino County, we offer advanced training workshops, which dig into a lot of this material, specific things that you need to do within your BNI membership to maximize it. So all that education. And then here's the unspoken benefit about BNI. Remember I told you when I walked into that first meeting, there was 30 people in the room. When I looked around the people in that room, there was 4 attorneys, there was a dentist, there was a CPA, there was a bookkeeper, there was another general contractor, there was a realtor, a mortgage lender, all these professionals. And I honestly, Ray, when I looked around the room, I went, I'm not 100% sure what they're talking about, but if they'll let me be in this room every week with these people, I know this is a win. If I can get in here, I'll figure out how to use this. I'll learn how to adapt. But if I can be in the room with these people every week, like that's a win, right?
What about those people did you see as like, oh, potential future win?
So there's a saying that you never want to be the smartest person in a room. If you are, then you need to either invite smarter people or you need to find a new room. And when I looked around this room, I saw people that were smarter than me. I saw people who had been in business longer than me. I saw people that were successful in their businesses. Those are the type of people you want to hang around if you want to be a successful business owner. You got to hang around with like-minded people and people that are smarter than you. And that's what I saw in that room.
That's awesome. Yeah, I could not agree more. When I first started BNI was essentially when I went full time into business, and everyone in the room had been in business for years and years and years. I started at like 25, and everyone in there was almost twice my age, with my age and experience in their business. I'm like, okay. So I got to learn from each one how they do their business and all the different industries. Now my friends always come to me before going to anyone else, being like, hey, Raymond, you got a guy for this? And I'm like, yeah, I got you. And I know more about how things work in the world because I don't teach this stuff in school. I don't learn about all the insurance inspections of like home remediation, dentistry, even. Like, yeah, I go to the dentist as a kid, but I don't learn about the business model. I don't get to learn about all that other aspects of it. But being around so many unique and intelligent human beings gives you just this extra third eye experience from them.
100%. And, it's when you can learn a little bit from a lot of different people, you get a broad learning base, right? Lots of different people, lots of different life experience. I mean, when I walked in that room, if you took and put together the total number of business years experience in that room, it had to be 900 plus years of business experience in that room. And remember I told you that there was another contractor? So him and I got to be friends. And he had been in construction for over 30 years at that point. I was 7 years into construction. I had done something else prior to that. So here I am now building a relationship with a guy who's got 30 plus years in the construction industry, and he became a mentor. And as we built a relationship, we met every week. Outside of our weekly meeting, we had developed what BNI would call a power team. And we had our own separate meeting every week where we collaborated on clients that we could share, take each other to each other's clients' first appointments to introduce the other person in case the client was going to need them down the road. And we were very strategic about it. Like if I'd go meet with, a couple that's maybe talking about remodeling the kitchen and I can see the yard is a disaster, right? I'm thinking, okay, the next thing they're going to do after they fix up the kitchen is they're going to do the outside of the house. Well, I could bring my landscape contractor with me and introduce him to them and say, hey, I'm just bringing him along. He's one of my associates and he's here in case we have any questions. And oh, by the way, if you ever decide you want to do something on the outside, that's his specialty. And it was just really simple like that. But in those meetings, he taught me how to be a better contractor, how to be a more profitable contractor. He saved me from the way most people learn, which is make a mistake, cost a lot of money, not going to do that again, right? The school of hard knocks. Well, he gave me the cliff notes. It's like, okay, here's what you need to be doing, and here's how you need to be doing it, and here's why. Here's the things you don't want to do. So he saved me all that heartache. Now, where in the world can you even go pay somebody to do that for you in your own industry? Can't. So that was invaluable to me. Just that alone was invaluable.
Yeah, it's such
Besides the
a
fact that by year 6, I was generating over $350,000 a year in revenue just from my BNI referrals.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's a very unique way to get a mentorship. Growing up with getting ads constantly, I've been advertised all these courses, these business mentorships, and they do have a lot of value. And I've taken some where they've taught me everything, a lot of what I know today. But to be able to not only one, have a partnership where you're passing business back and forth in harmony, but also for someone to take you under their wing, like that's some unique magic that works so beautifully. And actually, I one of the partnerships I have formed is kind of they visited the meeting, BNI chapter meeting that I was at. Wasn't the right fit for them in the moment based on where they're at, but we had a mutual connection. It was actually her husband that I knew from the Chamber of Commerce. And then she ran an advertising company that didn't do any video. And so we've built this relationship over a few years, and we started working together. But she doesn't do any video, but she still doesn't do video. She likes to outsource that stuff, but she's like got 20, 30 years of experience in the advertising industry. and I'm learning tons of new things through them. So not exactly the same, but it was something that a positive, other than just like, hey, here's some dollars and cents that came out of, being in an organization, expecting that ROI, which paid ads, we run paid ads for clients and they want dollar in, X dollar out, right? So
Right.
totally, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's funny when we talk to members in BNI, and by the way, I told you we just celebrated our 40th anniversary. We actually have a member who's been a part of BNI for 40 years. The very first chapter that started back in 1985 is actually still in existence, and that member is back in that chapter. She's moved to a couple different chapters, but now she's back home, we call it. And when we ask members, and again, lots of members, 20, 30 plus years have been in BNI. Why did you join? And it's always to make more money, grow my business. In year two, when we ask them, why did you renew? Why are you staying? And the first comment is always the people or the relationships that they've developed. And number two is the money. Sometimes the money is even number three, because sometimes they'll list the education, what they're learning from BNI and from their fellow chapter members, from their peers. Sometimes that's number two. Oftentimes we'll see when members stay in a chapter for, a few years, most of us are small business owners, solopreneurs, right? We don't have a board of directors. We might be a corporation, but the board of directors probably has one name in every slot. That was one of the things that I got out of my chapter is they became my board of directors. I would go to people in my chapter and say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Am I crazy? Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? How can I make this better? Or I'm struggling in this area. How can I make it better? My peers help me with that. And that's what BNI members do. They lean into our main core value, which is givers gain. You have to give in order to receive. And our members give freely and abundantly to each other. And that's probably the biggest unspoken benefit in BNI is you get that peer support that you can't get that anywhere else. I mean, even your own family won't give you that kind of peer support, right? Because they're like, you're driving me crazy, leave me alone. But your fellow BNI members will help you.
Love that. And you mentioned something, most of the BNI members, sole entrepreneurs, but when is there a moment where you're too big for BNI, or what's that look like?
Well, and the short answer is no, because while I said we have, a lot of small business owners, solopreneurs, we have a lot of people that work for large corporations. So we have ADP, the largest payroll provider in the world. Their salespeople are members in our organization. Why? Because they need to find clients, right? And we're the most effective and efficient way for them to build their book of business because they're working on a commission. So any commission salesperson or anybody that has a performance enhancer to their employment, like, hey, you want to get a bonus, like maybe you got a good salary, but you can really bonus well if you hit X, matrix in sales or new clients. BNI works for them. So yeah, we have a lot of small single solopreneurs, small business owners, but we also have a very large contingent of sales professionals and marketing professionals that work for very large organizations. We have people that work for Aflac. We have people who work for New York Life, the world's largest life insurance company, right? Their agents are BNI members. We have a ton of them in our region. Like they are the predominant company because we have 3 of their offices like within 30 miles of the center of our region. So yeah, small people, small business owners, great, but there's no such thing as too big because if you're looking to grow your business, looking to add clients, as long as it's a legal business, we have a path for you in BNI.
Keyword legal. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had two T-Mobile representatives.
Yeah.
And that surprised me, but then when they started talking about their business or started talking about their role in the business, it made more sense because their job is to acquire small to medium sized accounts to help them with all of their phone internet needs compared to the other,
Yeah.
big companies. So, and they're in charge of a region, just like you're in charge of a region, which is a perfect caveat into, okay, so you're wearing all the BNI merch. Does that mean you're just an advocate for BNI because you just love them? Or is there something else? Like, what's the transition here from construction I'm making a ton of money, great relationships, loving it all, to now I'm rocking a BNI shirt with the BNI founding region as my background. What happened?
Yeah, so first of all, yes, I love it, and that's why I wear all the merch and promote everything. But so when I was in that BNI chapter and I was a contractor, I became successful in BNI. And in my third year, I told you there was kind of a paradigm shift, and I became really successful in it. And in BNI, we have members, which I was a member, and then we have ambassadors, which help support other chapters. So I was an ambassador for like a nanosecond, and then they said, "Hey, you should be a director," which works with other chapters to help those members get more value out of their business, help the leadership team actually run the chapter. So our chapters are run by members, but they're coached by a director. So I became a director. And remember, I told you I got a lot of time back when I joined it. So I was a member in a chapter. I still own my business. And then I was a director supporting 4 chapters. I became a trainer and I became the manager of the ambassador team. So I had like all these different roles I was doing at BNI, but I loved it. And then I found out BNI was a business. Like it's a franchise. And I'm like, what? This is awesome. So I'm like, I'm going to buy a BNI franchise. Like this is way better than construction, right? It's a subscription-based business model, which that's the best business model in the world if you can get it. And construction's hunt and kill every day. You got to close a job today if your guys are working or going to eat tomorrow. So it's hunt and kill. And remember, I told you I had 6 when I joined. Well, at that point, I was up to 8 to 10 guys working for me. So I had to continually bring the jobs in. So here's this BNI business model. I'm like, cool. So I asked the person who owned the region, and they're called an executive director. It's a fancy title for franchise owner. Hey, how do I buy a BNI franchise? They're like, well, you got to go buy one from someone because there's no open territories around us. Like you got to go buy one. I'm like, all right, how do I do that? Like, well, here's the list of the people. So I started calling people. Like I cold called them, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm Mike Adray. I'm a BNI member in SoCal BNI in Orange County, and I'd love to become an executive director. I want to buy a BNI franchise. Would you like to sell your business? Like I was that bold.
Knock, knock, sell
Yeah.
right now. Come on.
Yeah. And a couple people politely said no. One actually read me off, who, by the way, became a really close friend down the road. But yeah, they're like, go away, like, leave me alone. I'm not selling my business, right? And kind of read the right act. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess this isn't going to happen. So I just went back to doing what I was going to be doing, being a director, being a member. And then out of the blue, BNI headquarters called that executive director and said, hey, we're selling the San Gabriel Valley region of BNI because headquarters used to be there. The BNI global headquarters was in Upland, and they didn't want to have that in a franchised region, so they owned it. So they moved to North Carolina. They called this person and said, hey, we want to sell the San Gabriel Valley. Do you know somebody that would be a good executive director? And they said, yeah, you need to talk to Mike. And
So this was the guy you just cold called him, but then the actual company BNI called this gentleman or gal that you
no. So the executive director I was working for in Orange County, they called her and said, hey, do you know a good member, a good director that would maybe buy that region? And she said, yeah, Mike. So I started talking with the guy. I came home and I told my wife, I think I'm going to buy a BNI region. And she says, great. What's that? So then I had to explain BNI to my wife. Now I've been in BNI for 7 years, but she still really didn't understand what it was. So I gave her all the, why, now I'm selling my wife on why this is a good thing, why I need to do this. And
all right. She's like, that's the lunch thing you go or breakfast thing you go to every
exactly,
week?
right. Yeah.
Oh,
This thing you go to
okay.
every week, you're going to buy it. Like, how does that work? So I tell her all this, like compelling reasons why I should buy it. And she goes, yeah, I think you should do it. And I'm like, really? Like I expected this to be like some pushback here. Like this isn't like I'm going to write $1,000 to buy this. Like this is taking everything we have and going to go buy this, right? And you're okay with it? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, why? That was too easy.
You're like, we have more arguments about what we're going to eat. What the heck?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
I'm about
right?
to spend hundreds of thousands, whatever it costs to do
Yeah,
this.
yeah. And she goes, well, I don't fully understand it, obviously. She goes, all you ever talk about, you never talk about construction, ever. Whenever we're talking about anything, you're telling me about your day, it's a BNI story. She goes, that's your passion. That's what you should be doing. And I'm like, holy cow, I didn't even realize that. Like I knew I wanted it, but I didn't realize it was a passion. I just knew I wanted it really bad, which, it's kind of my personality. I'm, typical guy. I see something I want and I want to go buy it, which is what I was doing. But she goes, "Oh no, that's your passion. You should definitely do that." And so I sold my construction business and I bought this franchise. In 2017, I took ownership, September 1, 2017, and I've been running it since. In 2022, I acquired all of San Bernardino County. I bought another franchise. So not only did I buy it initially, I doubled down and bought another franchise. So now I'm living my dream. I'm living my passion. I have the greatest job in the world. All I get to do is help people every day grow their business and hear their success stories. I've got a wonderful team of directors that I've developed that are an extension of me. They go out and they're supporting the chapters directly, right? And I support them and I support the members. So it's just the greatest job in the world.
That's awesome. I can feel the passion through the screen. That's what I love about video. You can actually tell when someone's loving what they're talking about. I was always curious, what does a day in the life of someone who owns the BNI region?
So every day is different, somewhat. I mean, so as you can imagine, I'm pretty busy. I stay busy. I attend chapter meetings, not every day. I used to. In the beginning, every day of the week I was going to a chapter meeting, sometimes two a day. And then I was also having one-to-one meetings. And early on, I was also doing all the training. So I, again, was wearing all the hats, right? Going through what I did in my construction business, I knew this was a scalable business. I needed to build a team. I needed to get people so back up, envision an organizational chart, right, for any company, but my name was on every line. And I knew that wasn't good. So I needed to start putting other names on the org chart. So where mine was just at the top, right, CEO, executive director. So that's what I worked to do over the last 7 years. So now, today, I meet with my team regularly. I do still visit chapters. I do a lot of one-to-ones with members. So members in BNI, we call it a one-to-one where we get together and we talk about each other's business. It's a little bit different for me because BNI is my business. So I don't talk about how they can help me. The typical one-to-one is you tell me how I can help you. I tell you how you can help me, and together we both do better. It's a little bit different in that I really focus on the member because for me, my business is having successful members. And because I've walked it, I learned it the hard way. I learned the shortcuts. I'm an expert in BNI and networking and how to grow a business through referral. So now they're really one-on-one coaching sessions is what they are. And I'm teaching these members how to maximize their ROI from BNI because in my mind, a successful region is a region full of members that are on average generating $85,000 to $100,000 a year from their membership. They pay me the same flat rate every year. Like it doesn't matter how much they make. I don't take anything of what they make. That's all theirs. We just charge a flat membership fee. But if I can create that kind of value, and we're getting there, then I'll have really, really happy members who are going to tell other people how happy they are, and they're going to want to join BNI. And so for me to win, right, I need more members. But for me to have more members, my members have to win first. They have to have success. They have to be killing it in their business through BNI because then they're going to tell their friends and their business associates, and that's where they help me. So if I help them win, I can get the win, but they have to win first.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's definitely the right back to the giver's gain.
Yeah.
Right. They win, you win, win-win.
Win-win. And a lot of times in BNI, we get the win-win-win.
The win-win-win.
Yeah. So the member wins. They tell their friend about BNI. They join. I win. Now that friend is successful in BNI. They win. The win-win-win.
The win-win-win. I love it. I love it. Speaking of winning and growth of BNI, what are some things that you're implementing to help continue the growth of your members themselves and the chapters itself?
So I have growth goals where I want the region to be. And I know that the more members we have, the more successful they are because that just creates more referral partners for everybody. And BNI is, I say this jokingly to a lot of people when I meet them, they'll say, "What's BNI?" And I'm like, well, we're the world's largest word of mouth referral organization that you've never heard of. Because BNI does zero advertising. There's no, you won't see them on magazines, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, you just don't see them, right? right? We don't spend money on advertising. But I'm so convinced that this works. And I mean, I see it every day. I see members making money every single day. But to give it a little bit of a kick and to give people something to talk about, I'm doing something that I don't know. I mean, you hear businesses say they have guarantees, right? A lot of places will say, 30 days guaranteed or your money back. Well, we can't quite do that in BNI because 30 days really isn't enough to do anything, because in our business, you have to build relationships. And you can't build a good relationship in 30 days. But here's what I do have. I created what I call our 10-10 success guarantee. And essentially what that says is, if at the end of 10 months of your first 10 months of membership, if you have not earned 10 times your membership cost, I will pay for your second year. Now, there is some fine print, and the fine print is pretty simple. We have a metric of activities that a BNI member needs to do to be successful. And you have to do the activities at the pace or cadence that we know is a successful level. And if you do those things within the time frame indicated, like on a monthly basis, if you're doing X number of these things, as long as you do those, I guarantee that you'll make 10x your membership costs, or I'll pay for your second year. Because I know if you didn't make it in your first 10 months, and we've had a couple members who didn't. If you didn't, I'll pay for your second year. And the reason I do that is because I know when they get into their second year, oftentimes that's where people see explosion in their growth of ROI from BNI. Because depending upon their profession, it takes different amounts of time to build relationships to the point that we know, like, and trust you. For example, how much of a relationship or how much trust does it take for you to do business with a florist, to go in and buy flowers? Pretty low threshold, right? Okay, I'm going to spend 20, 30, 40 bucks on a bouquet of flowers, and okay, if they die, I'm out 40 bucks. Like, that's pretty low risk. But let's just say you're a professional and you've got, you've just left the corporate world and you've got, a couple $100,000 in a 401k. And now you're talking to a financial planner or a financial advisor. How much trust do you have to have in them to give them all of your retirement? Let them manage it. Or using a realtor to sell your house or buy a house, right? Buying your first house, biggest transaction most people ever do in their lives. How much do you have to trust that realtor? Like, that's a lot of trust. You don't do that in 30 days. A lot of times you don't do it in 6 months or 8 months. It takes 10 months or more sometimes to build the trust to the point that you're willing to refer to that person. And so we do have members who sometimes don't get a referral until close to the end of their first year. They're a financial advisor, they're a realtor. Like, there's just not people falling out of the trees that want to buy houses, especially today, right? A lot
Especially
of people
in California.
Not in California, right? A lot of people are selling though. But still, it takes a lot of trust to pick a realtor to sell your house if that's what you're doing. So that's why I came up with the guarantee. Give our members something to talk about to people like you, Raymond, through your podcast and other venues that I've been a part of. I talk about this because it gets people's attention. What? You guarantee what? 10x? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, dead serious, 100%. I have no problem giving you your second year if you don't get 10x. I give a few out every year. I know I will, but that's okay. Because that means all the ones I didn't, they all made 10x. And the ones I do, I know they're going to make it in the second year anyway, and then they're going to renew their third year, their fourth year, their fifth year. Here's an amazing stat. In BNI, we know that if a member renews for their second year, they are 80% more likely to stay for 5 or more years. Why? They're making money. And they like the people in the room. They've got relationships, all those things we already talked about. Like, they're there. They're bought in, right? They're reaping the benefits from it. So I just want to get them to that second year, whatever it takes, which is why I came up with this guarantee. For those few that I might lose, now I've got a net to catch them in and get them into that second year, because then I know they're going to be here for 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, that's quite a guarantee. And, in marketing, what we call marketing bleeds or marketing magnets is where you create something that people want. And then with your offer, a really good offer with a great guarantee, like you said, the 30-day money back guarantee example, there's tons of different examples like that people are, push through online. But it's so big, right? It's a whole year, right? You do this for a whole year, or if you don't get this, you get a whole nother year. That's awesome. That's a lot of time. Because I know right when I started in my chapter, I was already making connections and people were wanting to do business with me, which doesn't happen with, like you said, a lot of those guys who need a lot of trust. And it's funny you talk about trust. The podcast, right? A format of building trust. The more you're with someone, more likely they are to trust you. And you elegantly put it in with putting that face-to-face time. It's the same with online, right? When, people watch a lot of your content, the more likely they watch it, the more often they do, the more they're going to trust you, the more they're going to do business with you. That is essentially my job in video format, is doing
And
the
you
same
do
thing.
it really well. I mean, I've seen your work and it's phenomenal. So
I
highly recommend that to anybody who's listening.
I appreciate that, Mike. I appreciate that. I wanted to talk about the challenges that you've, faced with, actually scratch that. I want to talk about the challenges that most people have when they get into these groups. What is like some common things that they're interested in doing this, but they want to do it right. What is a challenge that red flag they should within themselves that they should avoid?
Yeah, great question, and I'm glad you asked it. So a lot of people don't understand networking because, like you said, it's not taught in school anywhere. Like it needs to be a course in college, but it's not. And so people think they know what networking is, and I guarantee you that 99% of them don't, and they're doing it wrong. They think networking is going to an event, collecting a bunch of business cards, meeting a bunch of people, then going back to their office and immediately adding all those people to their email blog, or sending them an email soliciting them to buy something from them, right? Like they're just selling, 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 selling. And networking is not selling. Networking is building relationships. And so what we try and tell every BNI member, and when people join, they're joining to make money, right? But we tell them, listen, when you go into a BNI chapter, the intuitive thing is to try and sell to everybody in the room. Like everybody in the room needs to buy my goods and services, right? You mentioned when you joined, a lot of people did use your services, and that does happen. We call that a bonus. Like we tell our members, look, when you go into a chapter, don't sell to the room. You sell through the room. And by that, I mean that you need to teach them enough about your business, build relationships to the point that they know, like, and trust you enough that they are willing to introduce you to the people they know. Now, will some of the members in your chapter do business with you? Yes, it happens all the time. But if that's the whole reason you joined BNI, you are going to fail because either nobody in the room is going to buy from you, you're a realtor. How many people in the room are going to be buying or selling a house? Like sometimes it's a once in a lifetime event, so pretty rare. So if you go in there and try and sell to the room, you're going to fail. And even if you have something that a lot of people can buy, once you sell to them, like why would you stay? You've sold the room, you might as well leave. That's mercenary, and it doesn't work. So when you join a BNI chapter, you go into it, first of all, lead with a giving hand. I like to say that BNI is like a business referral ATM. So you have an ATM, Ray, right? You go to and you can take money out of your bank account. But what do you need to put into that bank account before you can take money out? You got to make deposits, right? You got to deposit money in. Well, the BNI referral ATM is the same way. Before you can take referrals out, you have to deposit referrals in. So you have to give referrals to other people. Now, everyone you give a referral to may not be able to give you a referral back, but that's okay. If you think about a room of 20, 30, 40, 50 people that are all giving referrals, they're all going to that meeting and that chapter with the intent of giving referrals, don't you think it's likely that you're going to get your fair share of referrals? Yeah, it is. So go in with a giving mindset, give referrals, build relationships, and it'll come back to you. So that would be the number one thing I tell people is just don't go in and try and sell to the room, which is honestly what we all do whenever we don't know what to do. We default into sales mode. That's kind
Yeah.
of the human default.
Yeah. And if anyone who's listening has been to the room where someone goes to a networking event and just hands you their card without like saying, hey, I'm so and so, here's my card. Hey, I'm so and so, here's my card. Call me. I've gotten so many of those. So that's happened to me so many times. I'm just like, I don't even care. Like, I don't care. I'm
It's a
not gonna.
turnoff.
It's such a turnoff, you know?
Yeah. So we teach people, for example, you go to that event, you don't hand out your card. You ask for somebody's card when you meet them, and then you ask them about their business. Tell me a little bit more about your business. How'd you get started in your business? What type of client is your best client in your business? Ask them questions about if I wanted to refer somebody to your business, what are some things I would look and listen for? Like ask people those questions when you meet them at a networking event, and you're going to blow their mind. They're going to go, nobody's ever asked me that. So now you're standing out. And then there's the old trick, right? If you want somebody to ask you a question, you ask them that question first. So ask them about their business, ask them all these things, and really get involved in learning about their business. And guess what? 99% of the time, they're going to turn around and say, well, tell me about your business. Like, how'd you get started in your business? Who's your best client, right? If I was to listen for 2 or 3 things to find a referral for you, what would that be? That's how you start a relationship. Because guess what? Everyone's at ease because they're not selling when they walk up to you, right? We call it premature solicitation. Just don't do it. It doesn't work. It's a turnoff.
Yeah, premature solicitation. Yes, I would 100% agree and love that term. I go by a phrase that I've heard before is be interested before you're interesting, whereas you're interested in the other person before you, without you just talking about trying to be interesting, because that comes off as ego, me, rather than you, right? Listening to you. And when you turn that from me to you, it's more of this person's naturally in their brain, they're already thinking you're interesting. They think they're having a great conversation psychologically.
Yep.
And they like you more just because you found so much interest. Even if you don't say anything except like 5 questions, most of those conversations, they'll walk away with like, oh my gosh, this was a great conversation. And they didn't realize you only asked like a couple questions. Yeah, I live by that. I think naturally my curiosity in people, as well as like me building my own skill set with, I do brand videos is one of the big things that I love doing for people, because that's where I really get to go deep into their stories and learn so much about them. Another reason why I'm doing this podcast is I kind of had a epiphany to just like, that's like one of my favorite parts. So why not just keep doing that? And, like were you saying win-win? It's like, well, okay, I get to do my favorite part is talk about other people and learn about them, and I get to learn from them. And then I get to also promote them. I mean, it's the same thing I do. Maybe I'm not having, getting paid to do it right away, but it's like, it's awesome. Cool things I get to learn about Mike and BNI more than I thought, and, share something more about that. So yeah, with networking, 100% ask more questions about them.
It's integral to your business, right? So it comes natural to people like you who are in marketing, right? So you got to ask questions, learn about someone's business. Do you think CPAs have that mindset? Do you think attorneys have that mindset? Only if they're asking about your case, right? They're not going to ask about you in general.
Like, do you have a case right now? Like, what's your case? No, I don't have a
Yeah,
case.
right. But in general, most professions don't have that mindset. Like, I need to learn more about this person before I can figure out how I can help them. Like, if they're selling payroll, they know what their solution is, payroll, right? So they're just going to try and sell you payroll. But if you build a relationship first and you know, like, and trust them enough, then you might give them your payroll business, which is a high trust referral because it's painful to change payroll companies. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of transition. It's a lot. So you really got to like the person and trust them.
That's awesome. Yeah, 100%. I want to kind of switch gears because I want to know
Okay.
just a little bit deeper about Mike, a little bit about your family, what you like to do. Just get people a little bit know about Mike other than the awesome BNI construction man. Do you have siblings, things like that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got a younger brother. He's about 6 years younger than me. Been married to my wife 35 years in March. We have 3 adult daughters. One of them works for the county social services. Another one is a registered nurse. And the third one is a licensed veterinary technician. So it's a nurse for animals. So they're all in servitude type professions, right? They're serving others and helping others. My wife works for a local school, charter school. She's an office administrator. It's a middle school. So again, she's serving, the public in that education area. So our family, we're all servant leaders. We all love to serve others. That's where, we've got that servant's heart, I guess, is the way you say it.
That's awesome. Where do you think that came from? I mean, for your kids, probably came from, mom and dad. But for you, like, was there time where you noticed like, oh, I'm more of a serving person? Or did maybe you had some moments in your life where you had to learn? Because for me, I mean, I've been there, I've messed up and I'm like, no, this is not what I want to do. Like, I want to be of service.
Yeah. So, when I grew up in a family business, which was a retail store, sold appliances, cameras, electronics, long before there was Best Buy, Circuit City, Good Guys, any of those guys. This business was started in 1968 by my dad. And I grew up in that world, worked with my dad for 20 plus years, working in the retail business. So it was just that sales grind, grinding through people, grinding through merchandise. And then I stayed in retail sales after I left the family business for a bit. I went into construction and then started the handyman company that we talked about earlier. But it wasn't until I became a director in B&I that I realized that I had a servant's heart. Up until then, I was just doing stuff. Like it was activity. It was like the grind, right? It was like the things you have to do every day. But when I became a director and I saw the difference that I was making in people's business by helping them be a better B&I member, that's when I went, oh, like now my heart, like it feels good in my heart. Like I don't feel like I'm working anymore. When I'm doing that, it doesn't feel like work. Everything else was a job, right? It was work. And, work's a four-letter word.
Mm.
And there was no fulfillment from the work I was doing. What I'm doing now is more than fulfilling. Like it feeds into my heart and my soul. So it really wasn't until I found BNI that I discovered I had that. Now my wife, she's had it all of her life, right? That's how she's always been. So we were very much the polar opposite couple, right? Opposites attract. She was, the servant leader, the giving heart, the kind, soft heart. I was the hard, steel on steel, grind it out kind of guy. And B&I changed me.
I love that. So would you say that when you were in your construction, more days were felt like you were pushing
Oh,
yourself?
yeah. Struggling and pushing to get through the day, 100%.
Mm.
100%.
And then when you had that the shift of BNI, how does it feel? Does it feel like, I mean, people say it's like a pulling energy.
Yeah, it really is. So when you're working at a job, you have to push through it, right? But like you said, when you have something that's pulling you along, it's a lot easier, right? It's not work. It doesn't take effort. It just is who you are. It's natural. It's just what you do every day, and it's you don't have to push through it. You don't have to grind through it. There are no bad days. I mean, there's some bad events and there are obstacles to overcome, but there are no bad days.
Bad days, as in, can you define a bad day for you? Or
Yeah. So I'm sure anybody listening, has had that. You get home from work and like, all right, like I need to either go run 10 miles to de-stress. I need to, have a martini. I need to whatever it is I need to do to de-stress from my day. I don't have to do that. I don't have to de-stress from my day. My day is de-stressing. Helping other people is a de-stressor. By having that giving heart, like you don't have that stress. You don't have that end of the day. Oh my God, like I got to get over this day. I can't wait to tomorrow comes. I can say that, but it's not because I'm dreading what happened today. It's because I can't wait to do it again tomorrow.
do you have any advice for those who, because you've been in a position where you went from bad days to like, oh my gosh, every day feels de-stressing, like you said, and almost gives you energy just to do the day. Would you give advice, or have you given advice along? Because you go around a lot of business people and everyone talks about how business is stressful.
Right.
Online, it's challenging, it's hard. You got to just push through it, What would you say to those people who are like that?
So there's a couple of different aspects. First of all, when I do my one-on-one with our members, I talk a little bit about how their business is structured. I talk a little bit about how their calendar is structured, right? Like, do you control your calendar or does somebody else or does everybody else control your calendar? Like, are people pulling on you constantly in all different directions? Like, there's business strategies that I've learned through a lot of books I've read, through a lot of my peers, through a lot of BNI, through Dr. Ivan Meisner, that have taught me that I control my calendar. I own my calendar. And so I do calendar blocking. Like I learned that from Dr. Meisner, how to block your calendar so that you don't have stress because you have time to do the stuff that you need to do. And you have time to do stuff that others need you to do, but you control that, not them. So we talk a little bit about how their business is structured. I always offer some different books that I've read that have helped me have a paradigm mind shift. One of the great ones that comes to mind is I tell people we have this thought process in our business and we're like, how am I going to get this done? And that was always me, like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And then I came across this book called Who Not How, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and it solved my problem. I don't need to know how to do anything. I just need to know who do I need to find to do it for me, because I can't be an expert at everything. And there's some things I shouldn't be doing as a business owner, right? So it's who, not how. Finding that balance to where you have people doing the things that you shouldn't be doing. Greatest book I ever read was The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And that's what kind of started me on this whole journey. And that was a recommendation from Dr. Ivan Meisner. And, he talks about being the technician in your business, right? And if you're a technician, if you're the one doing the work, you don't own a business, you own a job, right? And you have to work on your business more than you work in your business. And so that kind of was the foundation that I've built all this learning upon with that mindset, and then all the different other things that I've added to it. So I coach people on that. And then the biggest stress in business often is sales or client acquisition, right? Like you got to generate revenue. Bottom line, you're going to have a successful business. You have to generate more revenue than you spend. You have to make a profit. And the best way and the easiest way that I found to do it is a BNI membership. And so I tell people, like, look, your biggest stress is finding new clients. Like, how many doors do you have to knock on to find a new client, right? Most people tell you then got to knock on 100 doors to get a handful of clients. And so I tell them, well, what if you could just build relationships with 20 or 30 different people and they can give you, 2 or 3 clients every week? Oh, well, that sounds much easier. Yeah. So I tell them my story about BNI, the money I spent advertising and how I converted my business, right, by doing business by referral. So BNI has a slogan that they've had for, I don't know if it's been 40 years, but pretty darn close, changing the way the world does business. And that's in a nutshell what we do for people. We change the way they do business, makes it more enjoyable, makes it less stressful. They make more money.
Love that. Yeah, there's so many good nuggets for anyone's listening, and all the rant that he just went on.
Sorry about that. I tend to do that.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. As we wrap up here, what would be just some quick fun questions? First off, if you got any hobbies, or is there something that you're currently obsessed with outside of business,
Yeah.
beyond BNI, beyond business?
Yeah, so really the main thing these days that I do outside of BNI is I play ice hockey.
Ice hockey. Did not expect that coming.
It catches a lot of people by surprise. And people who know me, like, okay, well, you were born in Michigan, of course, and I was born in Michigan. Of course, you play ice hockey. I'm like, well, not really, because we left there when I was 6, and I didn't play as a little kid. A friend of mine introduced me to the sport in 1988 when Wayne Gretzky was traded to the Los Angeles Kings, and he took me to my first hockey game. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, it's so much faster than football and baseball and even basketball. Like, this is nonstop action. Like, it's offense, defense, offense, defense, offense, defense. This is awesome. And they hit, like, there's physicality to it, and it's fast. And so I fell in love with it. And my friend got me involved, put skates on for the first time when I was like 28 years old, learned how to play, not great at it. I'm 63 now. I'm still playing. I play, get this, this is going to blow your mind. I just joined my third, I make sure my wife doesn't hear this, my third hockey league. I play in 3 different hockey leagues now. Yeah, 2 of them are 60 and over.
Was not expecting that.
Well, and in those leagues, there's one guy who's 78 years old who's playing in that league still.
Gosh, he's probably the
Right?
most difficult one to contend with.
Yeah, I mean, he's played all of his life. Like, he played from the time he was like 4 years old, right? He's a really good player. So I play in 3 different leagues. So I play 3, sometimes 4 times a week, depending upon. So one league plays once or twice a week. It just depends on the week. And that's always been, and I've been doing that for, like I said, when I was 28. So for a lot of years, that was always my de-stressor, right? That's where I could go get that exercise. Some people go, run. I can't stand running. So that was my release. Now it's stay healthy. I'm at that point in my life where it's all about, you got to start worrying about longevity. Like, you got to, stay healthy. And I'm losing weight because of it. My doctor, my cardiologist, I don't even have a cardiologist. My doctor looks at my heart. You're great, man. Like you got no problems in that area.
Heck yeah. We love
So
that.
that's where I spend the majority of my time. And then hanging out with my kids. Like my kids, I'm lucky. My adult kids like to hang out with us. So it's kind of cool to be able to be friends with your kids now instead of being a parent.
Love that. That is awesome. And not what I was expecting, but this is perfect. So yeah, I've known you for a few years and never knew that. And fun question. If you were stuck on an island and you were allowed to have one food that lasts forever, you could have no matter what it is, you could be eating cookies and you still have, looking great, heart healthy. Cardiologist would say, way to go, keep doing what you're doing. What would that food be?
Chocolate chip cookies. That's my kryptonite.
Ooh, that's good. Now, is there a specific brand of cookie, chocolate chip cookie? Is it any type, store-bought, homemade?
The Nestle Toll House recipe, hot out of the oven, is perfect for me.
I would say those are quite delicious. I'm thinking about it, the taste in my mind right now, and I'm like, no, I want a cookie. You know who has a great cookie? Not to advertise them, but Chick-fil-A. They have a great chocolate chip cookie.
Oh, I haven't tried now. Why'd you tell me that? Now I'm gonna go eat the cookie.
Well, after you play with a 78-year-old on ice hockey, get yourself a Chick-fil-A cookie. You earned it.
I'll reward myself with a cookie.
That's awesome. I just tried it like last week. My girlfriend tried it and I was like, this is amazing. Anyways, and one last question. It's a Tim Ferriss question. So stealing it from him because I love it. If there was a billboard that could say anything, what would you want it to say? Everyone can see it. Legacy, not legacy. What would you want it to say?
Giver's gain. It applies to everything in life. It applies in every aspect of life. It applies in every relationship in life. And I mean, I'm not like this big philosophical guy. I don't know a lot about philosophy, but I'm not a super politically active or anything like that. So I'm not trying to make a political statement or anything like that. But as a world, if everybody had the mantra, giver's gain, give before you receive, like what would that look like?
I don't know, but I could say it would be quite amazing.
I think it would be at least a little bit better than the world we live in today. And giver's gain, it's a BNI core value. Dr. Meisner developed it. It's nothing new. It's karma. It's what goes around comes around, right? It's what you put out is what you get back. It's all those different things. And all those things are interwoven through different parts of different societies, right? Different cultures, different religions. But it rings true. If everybody just had a giver's gain mindset into everything that they did, rather than a dog eat dog or I have to win at all costs, hey, why don't we both win? What if we both could win? What if all three of us could win? Now, don't get me wrong. When I play hockey, I want to win.
You better watch out, 78-year-old.
Right? I'm coming for you. Stay out of my corner. But at the end of the day and at the end of the game, we'll all have a beer together. We all laugh about what happened. We celebrate each other's successes. Like if I'm playing in a game, I'm playing against a guy and he scores a really great goal, I'll be the first one to go up to him and say, hey, great goal, man. That was awesome. Or that was a great pass you made. Or dude, you picked my pocket. You read my mind. You knew what I was going to do. Great job defending. Why not?
Absolutely. Well, Mike, thank you so much for that. That was a wonderful conversation we had. And I love how we ended it with that. Really great advice for anyone who's listening. And where can people find more about what you're doing and how to join BNI?
Yeah, so we've got a great website, BNI, C as in Charlie, A as in Apple.com, or BNI abbreviation for California, CA.com. You can find all about BNI. You can find my contact information. You can see our chapters, where they are, when they meet, how they meet, because we have 3 different meeting formats. You can find a BNI member if you need a trusted referral, if you need a trusted professional for something. All of our members are vetted. They go through a review process before they can be accepted into a chapter. You can't join a BNI chapter. A person can't join a BNI chapter. It's not like other organizations where you show up, you write a check, and you're in, right? It's not like going to the gym. You have to be accepted. You can apply, but they have to accept you. And so it sets us apart from most organizations. So everyone is vetted. So .com, check us out, come visit a chapter. Reach out to me if you want to go visit a chapter, if you need help. My email is really easy, mike@bnica.com. So again, the same URL, just with Mike at, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody and see how I can help anyone.
Awesome. And everything will be in the show notes, so you can all check that out as well. Well, Mike, thank you so much for being on. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, it's great catching up with you, Ray, and thank you for the opportunity.